Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Sixers Sense. I'm Lucas, and we finally have a full crew tonight with both Chris and Uriah back, and I'm back. Everybody's back, guys. We're back, baby, and it feels good. Right, guys?
Yeah.
We're back. Back together again.
Reunited. It feels so good.
And the Eagles are playing the Giants this weekend, baby. I can't wait. I know you're a Commanders fan, Lucas, but you gotta root for the Eagles, right?
Hey, you know what? I might be able to be a Commanders fan even more now because Josh Harris might be putting in a bid for the Commanders, Sixers owner. So that could be interesting.
Didn't we tell him not to bring that up? But he brought it up.
Yeah, I brought it up anyway because that's how I do it. Oh goodness, it's good to have you guys back. I've been I've been missing all three of us together. It's good. It's good. I'm happy.
What's new with you, Chris? How you been?
Not a lot is new with me. Same old. Ready to talk about the Sixers some more.
All right, well let's do that. The Sixers last time they played in LA, the Crypto.com Center, they went in there and they handled business against the other LA team, the LA Clippers. The Sixers won 120-110. Give you some team stats so everybody can picture how things went if you did not see the game. The rebounding edge, there was no rebounding edge. Both teams secured 33 rebounds apiece. The assist factor went to the Sixers. They had 25-20 for LA. The Sixers had 12 steals in this game, where the Clippers, they only got 4. Turnovers, the Sixers had less turnovers, so they're able to take care of the ball. Shooting percentage, the Sixers shot a lot better from three-point land and from the field, and even the free throw line. The biggest lead for the Sixers was 19. The largest lead for the Clippers was 4. And there were 4 lead changes in this game. So let's go to Lucas first. What stood out to you in this game where the Sixers beat the Clippers?
Well, we'll talk about the Clippers here in a minute. So let me focus on the Sixers here. In terms of stats, like Joel Embiid was just another. It's like him getting 40 isn't even shocking anymore. It's effortless for him. It's effortless. Like he doesn't even need to try. 41, 9, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Tobias Harris has been quietly having a great season. He had 20 points this game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals. Probably his best defensive game of the season, possibly as a Sixer in general. James Harden struggled in this game in terms of scoring. Still had 9 assists, but only 6 points. And Maxey came off the bench, saved us in the fourth quarter. Had 22 points total. I think 11 of them, or 10, about double, almost. He doubled his score at the end of the game. So, like, kudos to Maxey. He's been taking this new role in stride, and we'll definitely talk about more of that later. But it's just the Sixers are doing what they need to do. I mean, it could have been a little bit, more spread out, but you know what? They were okay. They got the job done against a good team.
Yeah, I mean, look, Philly's on a 3-game West Coast win streak now, which is not necessarily an easy thing to accomplish. They're 3/5 of the way through this trip, and they've been winning a lot of games lately. And they now have sole possession, I believe, as we're recording this, of the 3rd seed in the East. They're 28-16. Given the volume of injuries that this team has dealt with so far this year, I think that's a pretty impressive place to be. And the Clippers are not as good maybe as we thought they would be. They're still trying to find some semblance of rhythm. That's another team that has dealt with injury after injury all season. But they're a good team, and they have a lot of talent. And this was, in general, a pretty impressive win on the road for Philadelphia. Again, Joel, just superstar stuff every night at this point. James, I'm really not worried about it. You want to see him take more than 6 shots in 32 minutes most nights. That hasn't really been a frequent issue this season. It's not like last year where
when you got other guys cooking like Maxey and Tobias, I think you can live with Harden. You don't want to see it, but I think you can live with him only taking 6 shots. If Maxey and Tobias are cooking as well as they were that game, along with Joel.
Yeah, sure. Good point on Maxey. He's been struggling since coming back. This is his best game by a pretty solid margin, 22 points on 7 of 12 from the field. 28 minutes off the bench. We'll talk more about the Maxey Melton potential switch thing. Doc City's going to run 3 different starting lineups depending on matchups, which I think is pretty cool and probably the right way to go with this team. But I mean, end of the day, Maxey played 7 more minutes than Melton and was a plus 23 compared to Melton's -2. So I'm not going to sit here and act like Melton is replacing Maxey, because I just don't think that's going to be the case, especially as Maxey gets back to full speed. Really good game from him. And Tobias, like you said, another pretty, PJ Tucker hit 2 of his three-point attempts.
I don't want to talk about PJ.
He's in the game to guard Kawhi. I think that's why, he's been starting these past couple of nights with Melton. It's for defensive purposes with Kawhi and LeBron out there. And yeah, look, good win overall. Clippers are a good, not great team, but Philly getting some momentum now as they head into a pretty soft spot on the schedule these next couple of weeks. We could be seeing things, looking up for this team.
So before we talk about the Clippers, I was talking to Chris before you got on, Lucas, and Jamal Crawford was on TNT basically downing James Harden, who did not have his best game, as you guys indicated. But the one thing that is interesting is that these analysts, they fail to acknowledge how on fire Harden has been prior to his one dud of a game against the Clippers. I'm just going to throw you, since Christmas, some of the stat lines for Harden, just to remind everybody that Harden is having a very good season. And, these players, they're allowed to have a bad game here or there. Let's look. So 29 and 13, 26 and 13, 20 and 10. Talking about assists for that second stat. 20 and 8, 26 and 8, 17 11, 20 and 11, 16 15, 24 15, 31 11, 24 13. And then last night, he had 6 points, 9 assists. So for all the haters out there who have this narrative against the Sixers, they still hate the process, they hate Harden. Look, the guy is still a top tier point guard. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's still, I think now that he's played enough games again, I think he's leading the league in assists officially. But yeah, he's one of the best playmakers in the NBA by far. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the Clippers for a little bit. We saw them play, I think, back in December in Philly. They fell apart. The Sixers came back. And then the other night, the Sixers went into their house and walked away with a win. But now that we've seen this team twice with Kawhi and Paul George, my question to you, I'll go to Chris first. Do you think the Clippers are a real threat in the West? And do you think they can just turn it on as the season nears the playoffs?
I don't know about just turning it on. I don't think this is a situation where they're just waiting to flip the switch. They clearly have quite a lot to figure out. They have not been a very consistent team on either side of the ball this season. And they're a step behind, the Denvers and the Pelicans of the world. I think they have some catching up to do. But end of the day, I think whenever you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, you have a pretty reasonable shot at getting to the level that you need to be at. I don't think they're favorites in the West right now. But as much as I like the Pelicans and the Nuggets and the teams at the top of the West right now, those are not juggernaut world-beating teams. And Kawhi is getting healthier. He was very good in this game. 27 points in 36 minutes. He's starting to look more like himself every night, it seems. Paul George is a very good player. And the Clippers are still a very deep team with a lot of talent on the bench, even if it hasn't all gelled together at every point this season. So I do think they have a chance still to make some noise in the West. They have a lot of work to do, and it could just continue to fall apart. There's just as much of a chance that they don't figure it out. But it's generally pretty smart to bet on talent in the NBA, and there's not many teams with as much talent as the Clippers.
I'm going to respectfully disagree here, and here's a couple of reasons why. Yes, Kawhi is starting to put up Kawhi numbers, but if you watch him, he doesn't look like the Kawhi prior to all these injuries. Paul George has missed a significant time with injuries. I can't say, they're going to be healthy for the playoffs, because they haven't been consistently healthy all year long. If one's in, the other one's usually out. Very rarely do we see them together. The other thing that I want to talk about, yes, they're a deep team, but not deep in the type of way that you would hope for. Yes, they have a really good role players, but outside of Kawhi and Paul George, like, you don't have that third guy that you can consistently rely on. And okay, let's think about it. Yes, they have a great center in Zubac, good center, good solid defender. Outside of him, they don't have a really reliable backup. Moses Brown is the quote unquote backup center. He's been in and out of the G League the last couple of years. Then they go small. They could go with Rocco, Morris, whoever. But it's not a great look. I mean, they went small against us with when we had Montrez in, right? So that's an issue. The other issue is it's concerning that they decided to go away from Reggie Jackson to what's the kid's name? Terrence Mann, yeah.
Yeah. Mann can ball, though.
He can ball. He's good. But, at the same time, if you can't rely on John Wall or Reggie Jackson to man the ship, and Mann's he's not a true point guard either. He's more of just a wing facilitator type thing. He's not a true point guard. So that's an issue. That's another issue that I think that they're going to run into, some playmaking. Yes, you have Paul George and Kawhi to offset it, but like I said in the past, I don't think I can trust them to be healthy for 4 rounds of a playoff, 2 months.
Hey, speaking of, oh no, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going. I just said they have a chance. I wasn't saying they're locks to be in the conference finals.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have a chance, but I would put that chance at 10% right now. I'm not very. I don't trust it.
Yeah, I'm not saying I would not bet on the Clippers to win the West or even get past the first round right now. But they have the chance to figure things out. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
If Kawhi can get healthier and back to his old form, him and Paul George, they have a shot anywhere you go, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't bet money on them. But Lucas, real quick, didn't you send me a message about John Wall? He was talking smack on Justin Patton.
Yes.
And then Justin Patton responded, right?
Cool. This is what happened when John Wall was back in Houston the first year that they were doing the rebuild. Justin Patton, former Sixer, he came over in the Jimmy Butler trade. Had all but maybe 15 minutes of play time, but because of injury. Patton was on the Rockets roster that year, and he was starting at center for portions of the year just because they were trying to tank. And John Wall was just clearly they're not trying to win. They were in a rebuild. They're starting freaking Justin Patton on the team, and he didn't say freaking, but you know what I mean. It's just and then Justin Patton's on Twitter. He's like, John Wall, I thought we were cool. I was just John Wall was savage because I saw more of that interview. John Wall was just savage. He was just letting it all hang out in that interview, man. It was crazy. It was funny.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next topic. I forgot my swoosh. Hold on. There we go. Swoosh is back.
I missed the whoosh.
All right, so James Harden. So Ramona Shelburne, outstanding journalist for ESPN. I love reading all her stuff. Great interviewer. Mm-hmm. She was able to get a quote from James Harden related to how James feels about this team compared to teams that he's played with before. And in terms of winning it all, he had this to say to Ramona Shelburne. He said, for the Sixers, top for sure. We had some really good teams in Oklahoma City, then in the 2018 team in Houston. But this team, the Sixers, is definitely the best chance that I've had to win. I'm curious. I'll go to Lucas first. How sincere do you think Harden is in this statement? And is this Sixers team more of a contender than the finals OKC team in the 2018 Rockets?
Well, let me just say this. Let's pay attention to which team he didn't say. He didn't say the Brooklyn Nets.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, he didn't say the Brooklyn Nets, which I find interesting. I mean, clearly, I don't know if you guys saw, but Kyrie took a subtle shot at James Harden recently in the media, too, versus talking about last year.
Was it a shot? It was just... It was a fact.
It was a shot. It was a shot. It was a shot.
It's
anyway,
a factual observation, though.
But it's still a shot. Just like how John Wall was making a factual observation about Justin Patton, it's still a shot at somebody, even if it's true. Okay,
I guess.
So that being said, I I find that interesting because that Nets team did have a legit shot.
Was
to win it
hurt.
all. Yeah, it was hurt, but it had a
They were
legit
hurt,
shot.
though.
If Durant's
They did
foot
once
was
they were
just
hurt.
slightly smaller, they would have probably won it all. That being said, let's go back to the actual question at hand now. Is this team better than those two teams? Well, let's look at the Thunder team first. Young, unproven Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka. Kendrick Perkins was the veteran on that team, which love Kendrick, but it's Kendrick. And then you got James Harden coming off the bench. He wasn't really allowed to be James Harden as much as he is now, clearly. That team was good. I don't think that team could have ever won a championship just because I don't think Russell Westbrook can ever win a championship because I don't think his play style lends to it. It is a good team, probably the best team that he was on, to be honest, outside of our team. And then you look at the 18 Houston Rockets team, the Chris Paul team, right? Rockets. That's a really good team, and I know Chris is like smirking in the back because he's just like he's trying to.
He's ready to jump on you.
He's ready to jump in, but like in all seriousness, though, I think the Rockets team was still it wasn't the personnel because the personnel was not it. It's just James Harden playing out of his freaking mind. Because Chris Paul, yes, was an all-star, but Chris Paul was starting not to look like Chris Paul. And it was a weird fit outside of that. It wasn't, in talent-wise, it wasn't even close to what the Sixers have. Still a really talented team, but they weren't going to get past the Warriors. Just not going to happen.
Go ahead, Chris. Go in there, man.
Time out. Talent-wise was nowhere near the Sixers. What are we talking about?
Okay, let's think about it.
That Houston team,
let's talk about it.
That Houston team might have been the greatest offensive team ever.
Doesn't mean that overall. Statistically you are correct, but in terms of actual talent,
defensive team too.
Talent-wise, Chris, they're not close to the Sixers. Chris, okay, James and Joel cancel each other out. Okay.
James was better than Joel on that team. Chris Paul was better than James is right now on that team. Capella was better than Maxey was on that team. They have a top three, a truly loaded top three. They have a great cast of role players, PJ at his prime. That was one of the best teams we've ever seen, and they just happened to bump up against the Warriors, who are maybe the best team we've ever seen. Were it not for Golden State, that team would have won multiple championships, A. B, OKC, young and proven, it's still Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, who's very good. Unproven Kevin Durant got further in the playoffs than Joel ever has. So I'm not sure what makes the Sixers proven in that respect. Joel is very much unproven in the
That was a weak
season,
Western Conference that year, and you know that. That was a weak Western Conference.
It's still Kevin Durant.
So Chris is not buying it. You're not buying it.
So Chris is thinking...
The East has been wide open in recent years, and the Sixers still haven't made it past the second round.
Has it?
So... I'm willing to hear.
But Chris, you have said the Sixers have failed not because of talent, but because of coaching.
Okay, well, Doc Rivers is still the coach, so that's
okay. But we're talking about
still.
talent. You're talking about a lot of other things.
No, we're talking about overall teams. Is Philly the best team he's been on? Coach is part of the team.
Wow,
that Houston team was way better than this Philly team.
This for us.
I'm just gonna.
I think I think in the moment,
Houston is one of the best teams we've ever seen in the past 20 years. It's like Philly is still figuring stuff out. It's nowhere close.
I can't deny Chris has some really valid points. But look, at the end of the day, he's talking to Ramona Shelburne. He's put on the spot. What else is he going to say? He has to say
he's saying
that.
the right thing. Absolutely. But he's like lying out of his rear end.
It's
nowhere close.
The fact that OKC team, unproven, I guess, and young, the fact that they made it, they made it
to the finals.
Yeah, they got to the finals. So that clearly that's the best team he's ever been on.
It's Kevin Durant
and Westbrook and who was the center? Serge Ibaka was good at the time. No, Serge Ibaka.
Serge was
an amazing player.
Okay, that's even better.
It wasn't like Lakers Westbrook, guys. This was like prime young Westbrook. He was an amazing player.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Please note this next time we talk about Westbrook here. that we go back
He
to
is
that
not the
clip.
same player now. Prime Westbrook is awesome.
But no, you've talked
No one
about
would
Westbrook
deny
having
that.
empty calorie stats before this year. You've talked about Westbrook having empty calorie stats.
Yeah, for like a couple years now, but not in his prime. MVP Westbrook was a top 10, 20 player. He was an awesome player.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry. It's the Houston thing. They're just not as good as that Houston team. It's straight up. It's not even arguable, I don't think. Like, there's no argument. That Houston team was better across the board.
I don't know. I think Joel and James Harden wash each other as terms of talent on that team. And then you go to who did you say, Chris Paul versus James Harden now? I think James Harden's better now.
Better.
No, I think it's James Harden.
You're wrong. That's fine.
Wow. Okay.
Prime Chris Paul was better than this version.
This wasn't
Harden.
prime Chris Paul. This was Chris Paul like 33, 34.
33, 34-year-old Chris Paul was better than this version of James Harden. Chris Paul a year or two ago was better than this version of James Harden.
That's debatable. I don't know. That's tough.
Wow,
if anything, it's a tie. If anything, it's a tie.
Chris just has an attachment.
CP3 at his best in Phoenix and OKC was as good
better
as
than this version of James Harden, who's leading the league in assists.
Yeah. Chris Paul was leading the league in assists. Like, that's not the argument you want to make.
Yes,
It's
but
Chris
James
Paul.
is a better scorer than Chris.
Sure, but
and he gets more rebounds.
Paul was the more.
All right, I think this will not be settled.
This is not going to go anywhere.
More
positive
rebounds.
Keep this up.
All right, let's go ahead and switch. All right, the Sixers stand in the Atlantic Division second. In the conference, I think they're third. They just climbed past Brooklyn recently. The Sixers are 28-16. We're a little bit past the halfway mark of the season. Wow, things have moved fast, right? So the Sixers, they got a roll going. Chris identified their win streak, and it's a lot to be happy about if you're a Sixers fan. But we need to give grades right now. So we're going to start with the bench, obviously A through F. I will reveal the player. Chris, you'll go first for the reserves, and then Lucas, you'll go first for the starters. Let's start with everyone's favorite big man off the bench, out of the mud. Let's go with Paul Reed. Chris, what grade do you give Paul Reed at the halfway mark of the season?
It's tough because Doc doesn't play him for some reason, but whenever we've seen him, he's been by far the best backup center. I have no interest in being objective or really thinking deeply about this. I'm just going to give him an A and say that Doc should be playing him more.
I'll be slightly more objective. I agree. Doc should be playing him. The reason why we don't is because the other guy is good friends with Harden, and apparently they have better offensive chemistry. That's debatable. So I'm gonna give Paul Reed a B+.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to everyone's favorite defensive specialist, who too does not get as many minutes as I think he should get. Matisse Thybulle, Chris, what are you going to give him at this point?
I'll give him a B. I think he's been really good. Probably should be playing more. We talked about this last podcast.
No, that's probably That's
he's objectively been better. Yeah, so
he had a rough start to the season where he was probably at an F for me, but now with the recent play when he does play, I think it's bumped him up to a B, B-. I'll say B-.
Okay,
does that make you feel good, Uriah?
You just made my week. I think I'm gonna go out and celebrate tomorrow.
Go to Chickies.
Let's go with Chickies. Yeah. That was a good time, by the way.
That was a good time. For those that don't know, me and Uriah met up during the holiday season, and we got to go hang out at Chickies in Philly right now.
Wells Fargo. We saw the Sixers get blown out by the Pelicans. Yeah. But anyway, so let's go with someone who's fallen out of the rotation, who I believe deserves minutes over Tucker, but that's neither here nor there. But Daniel House Jr., Chris, what grade do you give him at the halfway point?
Guys, let's be honest. He's pretty thoroughly been terrible. So I'm going to give him an F. because he has not. Wow. I don't think he has earned minutes over. Wow. I think he's been bad. So
wow.
No, like we were wrong. It's okay to admit when we were wrong.
I mean, like, yeah, he wasn't. He was definitely not worth losing a second round pick over. But like,
yeah, like I wouldn't care less about second round picks. But he's not good.
I'm going to say
what does he deserve?
I think like look, I don't think he's been terrible. He has been a solid defender when he's been in there. Offensively, he struggled. That's fair. Guess what? Matisse Thybulle struggled at the beginning of the year too. He's just been struggling all year, which is not great. But like he is a switchable defender, which is better than what most teams have. So I'm going to give him a C- because I think there have been games where he has played subjectively well. So I'm going to give him a C-. C-.
That's a passing grade. Okay, that's fine.
I'm a generous teacher. What can I say?
All right. Big Bang Niang, the 3-point specialist. Chris, what grade do you give him?
A for awesome.
It has been awesome. I'm going to give him A-.
Okay.
I do want to note, he's been closing games a lot more recently.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's been playing well.
Stepping outside of his comfort zone with the 3-point line, trying to do a little bit more. And I'm happy for his progress because that only makes us better. Let's go to I'm going to go out of order here. Let's do Montrezl Harrell. Chris?
Objectively speaking, he's been better lately. He's like not the worst option ever. We probably overstated his poor play a little bit early in the year. I'll give him like a D+, C- even to pull out the Daniel House grade.
I'm going to give him a C. I'm going to give him a C+ because, like you said, he's been playable.
Yeah.
He's been playable.
The main issue is that there's a better option on the team, not that he's been egregiously bad.
That's objectively.
Paul Reed is better than him, not that he's doing anything specifically wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. Yeah.
All right, I think I know where you guys are going with this next player, DeAnthony Melton, first season here.
So hold up, Chris. Before you start, we got to talk about DeAnthony Melton because, like Chris said, Doc Rivers has 3 starting lineups. I don't know how much we're going to see a variation with Maxey not starting over Melton moving forward because Doc likes to have himself that solid 6th man that can score a lot off the bench, usually a guard, a.k.a. Lou Williams, a.k.a. Jamal Crawford. I don't think that's the best choice, but it looks like it's happening, and Melton started more than he's not started this season. So, Uriah, with all due respect, I think we need to switch it around and have Maxey in the bench unit.
So have Tucker and Maxey. They've also started more than they have not started.
But Tucker, no.
Tucker started every game he's played in.
No. What I'm saying is that Melton's been a starter more than he's been a reserve.
Well, so have Maxey and so have Tucker.
But like,
objectively, they have.
Okay, but like Maxey missed a lot of games too, and recently Doc has been using him as a backup
for 2 games.
Okay, Uriah, break this tie for us. What are we doing?
Let's just go with Melton.
Melton's on the bench according to the list that he submitted. I think it's fine. I think Maxey will move back to the starting lineup sooner than later.
I hope so
because he's too good to come off the bench. For Melton, again, it's like I give him an A because he's exceeded expectations across the board. He's been one of the best defensive guards in the NBA, and he has been a pretty remarkable spot starter for a team that's been hurt all season. So there's really not a lot to drag him for, so I'd give him an A.
Yeah, A sounds good to me too. One of the best defenders in the NBA. I think he's like first or second in steals. Solid 3-point shooter. I think when he was starting, he was averaging like 15 as a starter. So I think overall it was a good move. I think A is a solid grade.
So for Jaden Springer, what are we thinking? Like A+?
Get off your island, Chris. Nobody else is there.
So, yeah, let's get to the nitty-gritty, the starting lineup now. and let's just call it what it is. PJ Tucker. I can anticipate where we're going. Lucas, what grade would you give PJ Tucker at this point?
Maybe I'm being mean here, but he's looked slow on defense. Offensively, he's not attempting nearly as many shots. I mean, if we're grading locker room presence, A+, but we're not. So I'm going to give him a D.
I agree. I think it's
what?
I think it's weird to give Daniel House a C- if we're handing Tucker a D, but sure. He's not been very good. Yeah, it just makes no sense, but that's okay.
Yeah, I gave up completely on Doc Rivers, I guess, a couple of games ago when he couldn't read the tea leaves, and he still has Tucker starting. And I think we lost.
Well, it's 3 different starting lineups, Uriah. They're going to switch based
on
matchups.
Is it really, though? Is it really?
Well, look, I get wanting PJ to guard LeBron and Kawhi. It makes sense.
I think at this point you could argue Tobias could probably do just as good of a job.
Yeah, I guess, but you're paying Tucker to defend those guys.
Well, we can talk about, if we talk about Daniel House being a mistake, I think we should be able to talk about Tucker being a mistake too.
We've had that conversation.
Yeah,
I'm not giving Daniel House a C-. You are.
Oh,
I think he hasn't been as bad as you think, but all right.
Let's look at. There's a positive player. At least he was doing really well until he started telling people to tell a friend that he was the amazing shooter. Since that comment, his shooting has dropped off a cliff. But anyway, we all love Tobias Harris. Great locker room guy. Going to run for mayor of Philadelphia one day. I could see it. Lucas, what grade do you give Tobias Harris?
Hey, look, I think he's played the best he can in the situation. He's a third or second option on most teams. He's been relegated to the fourth option, and he's been spectacular. Taking it like a champ, accepting whatever role. Sometimes they need him to be a spot-up shooter. Sometimes they need him to be the second option if we're injured. Like, he's been fantastic. I have nothing but praise for Tobias Harris, and he's been playing defense. Nothing but praise.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give him an A. Good stuff.
All right. Now we're going to go to Maxey, but first we have to pull back a layer of what could be a little deceitfulness on behalf of somebody, probably Doc Rivers, who claimed that Maxey, who we're about to give a grade to, reached out to him and basically volunteered to go to the bench. And then after the most recent win, they were asking him in the press conference about his role changing. And Maxey, in so many words, said, I'm a starter in this league, but I'll do what I have to do for this team. So you guys want to comment on that real quick about Maxey and the Doc comments conflicting?
Look, Doc Rivers has been caught lying to the media before, back when he was in LA. I'm not surprised by this. Maxey's a great person and a good person, so he's taking this like a champ. Good for Maxey. It might, and I don't know if it's the right move for the team. It's like I said last podcast with Chris, it's worth a look. It's worth a look to see how Maxey does as a sixth man. But Doc, that's not a good look for you at all.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm as willing as anyone to take a shot at Doc. But did what Maxey say really conflict with what Doc said? Did really?
I mean, it sounds like it. If you think that you're a starter in this league, you don't offer your starting job to somebody else.
Maxey said he felt like it was
and Doc made it seem. Doc came out and said that Maxey reached out to him. Tyrese
said he felt like it was trending in that direction. That he's willing to do whatever to help the team. I'm sure,
but that doesn't mean that he reached out.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We have no way of knowing. We cannot see their phone history. But I mean, it doesn't. I don't really know if it's Doc getting caught red-handed as a liar. But
I'm not saying that he did. But I mean, if it talks like a duck and walks like a duck, it means that it's not a mongoose.
I tell you what would be hilarious if someone like Derek Bodner or somebody put Doc on the carpet and was like, "So Doc, there's some conflicting ideas going on about who reached out to who, and then Doc would be like, I can't answer that right now. I don't know how to answer that right now.
You wouldn't ask this question
Simmons
to Greg Popovich.
Yeah. Would you ask Pop that? Would you ask?
Well,
Pop that?
here's what I'll say. Doc did also say that it's not really changing the amount of minutes that Tyrese plays. It's just when he plays them, which has objectively been true. He's playing more than Melton still, and more than PJ. So it really is not how Tyrese views it personally is probably the most important thing, but it's not really changing Tyrese's role much beyond when he's out on the floor. It's
as long as he's there to close games, that's the most important part.
Yeah. So I do not think it's like some big demotion. It's just trying to see which lineups work when in certain points of the game.
And to be fair to Doc, Tyrese and James Harden are terrible defensively. And it does hurt the team when they start. And until Maxey can get back to his borderline all-star self on a consistent basis, that's just too much of a deficit to really deal with.
So a grade to give Maxey, Lucas? I'm
going to give Maxey. See, the injury kind of messed up his rhythm and hurt his. I'm going to give him an A-, just because it's taken him a minute to come back. Oh, Uriah, your video's gone. Anyway, so, I would give him an A-.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. He was really good before the injury and has struggled since, but that's not really his fault. Everyone, for the most part, struggles when they get back from a foot injury. So,
except for Joel. Apparently he comes back even better.
Except for Joel, who is,
Maxey gets an A for me just for this quote. I guess he got it from his dad. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. What a great line. Maxey is like a role model, man. I love it. Plus, he just got a new sneaker deal, New Balance. You guys see it?
I heard about it, yeah.
Yeah.
I like them. They're fire. They're not like just the regular N on the side of the sneaker. It's it's fire. It's fire. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to James Harden. What grade do you give him, Lucas?
Whew. That's the tough one, I guess, huh?
Is it really?
I'm going to give him an A. I'm going to give him an A.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not the most exciting content to just sit here and hand out A's to everyone, but he has been objectively, I think, better than most people expected coming into the season. Right? He's at least lived up to expectations.
Yeah.
He's much better than he was last year. Aside from the Clippers game, his scoring has been up. His efficiency has been up from three-point range. Him and Joel have turned into basically the most productive two-man game in the NBA. Mm-hmm. They're playing off of each other better than ever. It's more Joel playing off of James than James playing off of Joel, but they're going to crush. No one's going to score more points off of assists than Joel off of James assists. That two-man game has just been murdering teams laying games. Mm-hmm. So
we got to remember, James is not going to be James Harden from Houston, but this James Harden is still pretty.
James Harden from Houston, who was better than Joel. Anyways, it's not to bring it back to that point that I made.
You did. Though.
Yeah, I'll give him an A. He's played great.
Yeah, and then another thing, you have to put it into perspective and know that, like Lucas was saying, he's not the old Harden that he used to be in Houston. He's older. He's a little slower. He's never been a great defender, but as far as playmaking ability, he's one of the best in the league to do it. He can score at will pretty much. He turnover prone, but that's what happens when you handle the ball as much as he does. Mm-hmm. I would give him an A. But let's go to Embiid. I think this is a no-brainer. Lucas?
A+.
A+? Okay.
A+. He's an MVP candidate for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, there are ways to nitpick, but I'm not going to do it.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, Chris. Don't be that guy.
It's not been his best defensive season, but I'll give him an A+.
I mean, look, the guy's second leading scorer in the NBA, averaging 33 points a game. I'm if his defense takes a slight step back, I'm not crying a river over it.
Yeah,
and we know when he needs to, he can step it up defensively. So
he's a much better defender than the other 30-point per game scorers. For the most part. Well, I don't know if that's explicitly true this season. Durant and Tatum have both been really awesome on defense. But Troll's awesome. Good. I'll give him an A+. It's fine.
All right, so those are the grades for the players. Last one before we go, what grade do we give Doc Rivers? Chris, you go first.
Okay. So look, let's again just look at objective fact here. As much as we all hate Doc, the Sixers are the 3 seed. They're winning a lot of games lately. Joel and James have meshed quite well over the past couple of weeks. The Sixers have, weathered a pretty monstrous storm of injuries to still be the 3 seed within striking distance of the 2 or 1 seed. And the offense is not an issue. The defense is an issue at points, but it's overall been pretty good statistically. There's not a lot of room for complaints. Given the hand that Doc has been dealt injury-wise, they've been pretty remarkably solid and consistent. So,
and he's shown some flexibility this year in terms.
He's shown flexibility. He's I'm using 3 different starting lineups now. That's pretty cool and not something that most coaches are willing to try. So,
and
we'll see if he actually follows through on that. But the Montrez thing sucks. But if that's the only mistake your head coach is making, that's truly agreed. And
in his defense, if it's a really bad matchup for Montrez, like the Raptors, he won't play Montrez.
Doc is not the only coach in the league who would play Montrez over Paul Reed. There are other coaches who do the same thing all the time. It's not, Doc has been pretty good this year, I'd say. So B+, A-. I don't like him as I'm with everyone else who's tired of Doc in general, but
I thought you were going to give him
kind of hard to find objective.
I thought he was going to give him a bad grade too.
What can we actually complain about other than just not liking? He's lying in press conferences again, so maybe that's an issue. But he's been good, so B+ is what I'll give him.
I'll give him a B. Chris is right. He's done pretty good with the hand that he's been dealt.
I would still fire him, but B+.
On your way out the door, here's your grade. You got.
Man, I feel bad for when you have kids and they come home with a B+ and they still get in trouble.
I'll give him a B- just because he's not playing Reed and he still has PJ Tucker.
Well, he'll play Reed in certain matchups. If it's a really bad matchup, he'll play Reed.
Look, man, the issues we've been having with rebounding, you put Reed in there.
I don't think Reed fixes all those problems, though.
Rebounding. Have you seen how many?
No. I don't know. I'm not saying that Reed won't help, but he's not the only issue there. The issue is at power forward, not center, for rebounding.
Brief aside, Reed is basically the best bench player on the team, but beyond Melton. Maybe Yang, and then it's Paul Reed, I think. He's objectively a very good player. I don't know if
I would say that. I think Shake Milton's been better this season.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Shake.
4th best, whatever.
Did we give Shake a grade? Did we forget Shake?
Oh, I forgot Shake.
Wow.
Oh, man. I knew I forgot somebody. I dropped in the ball on that one. Why'd you have to bring that up? I was trying to move on.
A+.
Yeah. A+ for Shake.
And Shake is my guy. So, yeah, I would give Shake.
That's
Shake
pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. All right.
You brought up Springer. I mean,
we're not. He
hasn't been 3 minutes a game.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's head out.
All right.
To all the listeners, as always, thank you for tuning in to the Sixer Sense podcast. Please subscribe, and follow along if you can. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, Audible, Apple Podcast, all that fun stuff. And as always, again, thanks for tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Sixer Sense. Give us 5 stars on all those platforms if you feel compelled to. It would help us out. Leave a review. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And until next time, go Sixers. Go Birds.
Birds.
Talk to you soon. Mm-hmm. Not the Commanders, by the way. The Birds.